got our mConsent iPad software here. We're connected to OpenDental, and appearance-wise, we're going to customize this app based on what you're currently doing with your dental practice. So your branding, your logos, your colors will all be added into the software to really make this an extension of your dental practice. If you take a look here under intake forms, you'll see that we can take anything you're currently doing on paper in your practice and build it into the iPad software. So that includes patient registration, medical history, your HIPAA forms, and your financial policy. You'll also be able to scan in insurance cards, driver's licenses, patient photos, and any other document that you might need to get into OpenDental. All of your consent forms that you have in your practice will be built into the software just as they are on paper. So we're going to digitize those for you and make it easy to manage those documents. You'll be able to present your treatment plans that you generate within OpenDental via the iPad software for the patient's signature, and then have that route directly back into OpenDental. So there's no need to do any imports or any transferring of files. In the upper right-hand corner of the app, we have the app dashboard, which includes many admin features. Here you can contact support if you have any questions or wanted to make changes to your forms. We have a really cool feature called Doctor's Review, and this is a queue that is set up to route forms after the patient submits them so that the doctor can review them with the patient while they're there in the chair, add any information that was left out by the patient, add notes, and then sign off on it that it's been reviewed by the doctor. We have our online forms, which allow your patients to fill out their paperwork from home, submit it over to the practice, and have it integrate with OpenDental all before they even step into the practice for their appointment. And then you can actually access any form that has been submitted within the last 48 hours without reverting back to OpenDental under the Access Forms tab if you need to just see a note or review any information. Now let's take a look into some of the advanced features of our software. First, we'll walk through a consent form. mConsent makes it easy for a modern dental practice to properly manage and store numerous consent forms. I want to show you just how easy it is to complete a consent form with the mConsent iPad software. What we'll do is build in all of your consent forms in your language and verbiage, and I have a few examples here. Now we'll go ahead and do a consent for treatment. Now we're going to have to associate this form with a patient of record, and we can do that one of two ways. First, we could use their assigned chart ID from OpenDental, or we could use this patient's name and date of birth. So if I'm unsure of the patient's chart ID, I can just ask them for their name and date of birth and type that in here. Now that I have the patient selected, I can hand the device over to the patient and allow them to read through the consent form, make sure they understand what's going to be happening, and then we'll have them sign off on it. Now for this form in particular, we have two signatures that we need to capture from the patient. The first is just for the general consent for treatment, and the second is for our insurance policy. Now I need to be sure that this patient understands our insurance policy, so if they try to move on without signing there, mConsent will alert the patient that they must sign and will not be able to continue until they do so. Now that the patient has signed off on it, they'll go ahead and tap Done, and at this point, mConsent is going to generate a PDF of the document that was just completed. So as you can see, we've captured the patient's name, date of birth, and their signatures. And now when I tap Submit, the consent form is going to automatically route into the images section of OpenDental, so there's no need to manually upload or import the document. It's that easy. Now let's go into OpenDental and we can see how that document came over. Now we'll navigate to that patient and then into the images section. And you'll see that submitted today, we have our consent for treatment. I'll click on that and you'll see it's the same form we saw on the iPad when the patient submitted this document. It's that easy to manage your documents with mConsent and make sure they upload correctly into OpenDental. Now, there's so much more to mConsent than just consent forms. With advanced integration into OpenDental, you can increase the efficiency of your practice and reduce the total time of the patient intake process by capturing all of the patient demographic and medical information right here on the iPad software. This works for both new and existing patients. I'm going to go ahead and select our patient registration and medical history form here. Now we need to select our patient, and an easy way to go about this is just by plugging in their assigned patient ID from OpenDental. mConsent is just going to ask you to confirm the patient's name if you do use their chart ID. From here, we can hand the device over to the patient to review and update their information. As you can see from the patient's side, they don't have to enter any information that we already have on file. They only need to approve what you have within OpenDental and make any changes if necessary. So now if this patient has moved and they need to go ahead and update their address, they can just tap on that field and type in their new address. Also, if this patient's marital status has changed since their last visit, they can go ahead and update that as well. Moving on through here, the basic contact information that you have within OpenDental will pull up for this patient. So if they need to make any updates, they're able to do so on the iPad and it'll write back into OpenDental and update their personal file. So for example, if this patient maybe started a new job and they need to add their work phone number, they can do so just by tapping on that field and typing it in. As I continue on through here, for responsible party information, we really like to eliminate redundancies, and we don't want the patient filling out the same information over and over. So if the patient is responsible for themselves, we'll have them just select self, and the information that you already have will populate. This patient can just check that information and then continue on. And then last thing, if the patient needs to update their insurance for the current year, the patient will be able to do so from mConsent. Just like responsible party information, if the patient is the primary on their insurance policy, they'll just select self. And again, the information that you already have will populate any of the possible fields, and the patient can then fill out any remaining required fields. Next thing the patient is going to be prompted to do is sign off on the document and tap Done. Just like the consent form we did previously, mConsent will generate a PDF for the patient to review. Now keep in mind when looking at this is just one of our default forms, and we have a library that we would give you access to. But we will also convert your forms just as they are into the app. So the patient can look through, make sure everything is accurate, and then they'll go ahead and submit into OpenDental. As you can see here in OpenDental, the changes that we made on that form have already populated. So that patient's new address is showing here, and their new work phone number has automatically updated in OpenDental as well. If I go into the images section, the PDF of that document is all ready to be reviewed, and we can go ahead and look over that information here within OpenDental. Now, we completed the patient registration form, but since we also selected a medical history form, the patient will now be prompted to complete that as well. In a similar fashion to the patient registration form, all the information that we currently have on this patient will be presented to them for their approval, and they're able to make any necessary changes as well. The integration that we have built with OpenDental is going to save your staff quite a bit of time, because if the patients add a new condition on the iPad, such as an aspirin allergy, we'll be able to see their chart update automatically within OpenDental. And to protect your practice legally, we've included a checkbox at the bottom of each page on the medical history form. This ensures that your patients have reviewed their current conditions and that the information on this form is completely accurate. To finalize this form, the patient is just going to sign off on the information that they enter and then review the final document. You'll notice here that we've highlighted any affirmative answer in red just so that they stand out a little bit. Now the patient can go ahead and submit this document. Now back here in OpenDental, you'll be able to see the changes that we made automatically populate into the patient's chart. That aspirin allergy is showing up automatically here in OpenDental. And if I open up the images section, you'll see again, submitted today is that medical history form that you're able to review instantly within OpenDental. Next, we'll go into our cloud-based dashboard here. And this adds a lot of features into our software and is a nice extension of the iPad app. On the main landing page, we show some fun facts about your practice, and we list your 5 most recently accessed patients on the front page as well. So if there was ever an issue with your server and a form didn't upload into OpenDental, you're able to retrieve that document through our dashboard here. You can just go into that patient's profile, and we'll summarize some of their personal information here, and then you can access all the forms that have been submitted for this patient. You're able to then download these forms from our dashboard and move those into OpenDental. Now, as I mentioned previously, we offer online forms that allow your patients to fill out their forms before their appointment from their home or work. And those forms are accessed through a unique link in our dashboard. You can take that link and build it into your website, or we give you the ability to email these forms out directly from our dashboard just by entering the patient's name and email address. If a patient accesses this link through your website, they'll see something similar to what you see now. Now, like the app, we'll brand these forms to your practice. So you'll have your logo and address at the top of the screen, and we'll change all the content to match your current forms as well. All the patients need to do at this point is fill out all the required fields, and they'll be able to continue on. We do show a helpful bar at the top that just lets your patients know their progress as they go through this form. At the end of an online form, we're just going to require the patient to sign off on the information that they entered. And your patients can sign these documents one of three ways. So if your patient has an image of their signature, they're able to upload that. Also, based off the name that's typed in, we'll generate 6 different signatures for this patient to use. And then the last option here, your patients can just sign using their cursor. When I click preview, very similar to the way our app functions, we're going to generate a PDF that just shows everything that was filled out here. The patient now has a chance to review this information that they typed in and make sure it all looks correct before they submit this document. You'll notice too, at the bottom right of this form, we've captured the IP address of this patient's device that they're submitting the form from. That's an extra step we've taken to make sure that these online forms are fully secure so that your practice remains HIPAA compliant. When a patient submits an online form, we send a confirmation email to that patient that just lets them know that you received their form. You'll also receive an email letting you know that a patient just completed an online form and that you can go ahead and review that document. Now that that form is submitted, you're going to be able to review that document off any iPad in the practice. To review that document, we're going to go into the app dashboard by selecting the gear symbol in the top right and go into our online forms tab. This is a password protected area within the app because we're storing sensitive patient data. So we just want to make sure that only staff members are going to be able to access this information. Showing up at the top of our pending forms is that document that we just submitted. Whenever you're ready to review this form, you can select it, and we'll pull up the same PDF the patient saw before they submit it. At this point, you can review the information on the PDF, and if everything here looks good, we can approve that document into OpenDental. mConsent will automatically match this document to an existing patient within OpenDental based on their name and date of birth. If there's no existing patient within OpenDental, you can create that new patient right here from the iPad. I hope now you're able to understand how mConsent can streamline your patient intake process and digitize document storage within your practice. For more information on our software, please feel free to check out our website, mconsent.net, or just give us a call at 877-203-6767.